This Pitboss podcast is brought to you by our very good friends at Molly's Place Sporting Goods. Easily found on Route 213 in Kennedyville on Maryland's Upper Eastern Shore. The hard-to-find guns, the ammunition that's non-existent today, Molly's has you covered. Plus, much, much more. Molly's is your one-stop destination with Molly's Restaurant, Molly's Mart, and Molly's Place Sporting Goods. Visit them online at mymollys.com, MYMOLLYS.com. Fuel your adventure at Molly's. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Quiet on the set. Quiet on the set, please. A very happy, seriously, I had to think a second. It's a very happy Thursday afternoon. Yes, it is Thursday. January 25th. It is podcast number 8. And it's the same setup as podcast 27, which I'm not drinking Diet Mountain Dew. I am partaking in a little Crown Black. With only the best IPIA. What did I just say? IPIA. Ice. There we go. I'm going to slow down a second just so I can truly not be tongue-tied and try to be as articulate as possible. All right, rewind real quick. Podcast number 27. I got tongue-lashed. Critique, definitely. And I'll say tongue-lashed by Karen. And she's not here, so I'm sure she would tell you her exact thoughts. But she said basically podcast number 27 was a commercial. I thought that telling you that mymollys.com has 50% off all clothing and footwear, including waders, was like a positive thing, public service kind of an announcement. And she told me it's just a flat-out commercial. So I apologize to you for that if you found it to be a commercial. So I'm trying. You can hear my notes. I'm going to try to be very, very, I'm never organized, but I'm going to try to keep all this down. I wrote out some notes just to try to help me navigate my thoughts in this subject, this topic, this man, the myth, and the legend is what he was to me. And I just want to make sure that, not that I don't remember the timeline, but that I was able to, I go off on tangents. I was just got off the phone with Damon Pittman, Punisher Waterfowl podcast, just talking, and I go off on these tangents like crazy, man. So I wrote these notes just to help me. Again, I remember history very clearly, but I wrote these notes just to really try to help keep me dialed in. Gee, Fin City. Gee, what's up? He's texting me right now. Donald Hughes. Mr. Donald Hughes. The man, the myth, and the legend is what I will refer to him by, because if I did not meet Donald Hughes in 1995, looking at my notes just to make sure, because 93, 94, 95, 96 are all, no, they're not close together, but they're very close. They're very close together. Oh! El Jefe.
Jeffrey.
El Jefe, what's up?
What you doing?
All right. So I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining. This is the I won't say trials and tribulations, but this is what it is when you're like a one-man show. Things are just always always in motion, and you're always going. Oh my goodness. Phone's still going off. I should probably just put it on silent. But I hope that you have someone in your life, much like my good friends at Molly's, because, man, I just hung up the phone and I am, as I like to tell Karen, it's flowing through me, and it's February. I'm highly motivated. I'm highly motivated. So Let me regroup into here. Donald Hughes, the man myth. I will slow down. That way I can speak clearly and you will understand me. Donald Hughes, the man, the myth, and the legend. I met him in 1995. I need to rewind just a little bit into the 1993-94 season when I talked about this the other day. The snow goose limit was only 4 birds. And I was going into Delaware. I got a full season license in Delaware. Being a Maryland resident, I believe it was only about $80. Very reasonable. And I would go into Bombay Hook Wildlife Refuge. Get out Google Maps and just type in B-O-M-B, B-A-Y, Hook, H-O-O-K, National Wildlife Refuge. And it's just to the northeast of Dover, Delaware, right on Delaware Bay. And it still is today, but I mean, it was the magnet for snow geese when they first came down. October 4th, I can recall the date clearly. October 4th, there was an estimated 150,000 snow geese in there. The snow geese limit was 4 birds. I went in there with a canoe. I believe it was more than 12 floaters. I'll say I had 24 floaters, and I shot my 4 snow geese fairly easy. Decoying snow geese sitting in a canoe, and they decoyed very, very nice. My phone. I'm sorry. So did that for quite a while, and I honestly, the tide in there is nasty. The mud is nasty. The tide is extreme. To me, it's extreme. 8 to 10 feet. Maryland, is a fraction of that tide. And driving into the refuge, especially driving out of the refuge, I'd ride past all these blinds, all these pits, all these rigs that were set up, and I thought, man, I would love. I am gonna. There, silence. Sorry about that. I am going to. Still didn't silence it. Wait a second. There we go. I would love to hunt one of these fields. So, I believe it was in Waterfowl magazine. I actually found a club that was right there, just outside of the refuge, and I joined that. So, stopped me going in from the refuge, but still afforded me to do snow geese. The limit went to 5, and I believe I was still in the club when the limit was 8. Possibly not. Definitely when it was 5. When it was 8, I may have moved on. But in between all this, was this mystical thing to me out there. It was called the internet, which I didn't understand it. It was like mind-boggling to me. What is this internet thing? What's this www thing? What's this World Wide Web thing? And again, you got to remember, this is in the early to mid 90s, and I got on a computer. I didn't have a computer. I got on a computer that had access to the internet, and I used the Ultra Vista search engine, which would be like Google. Somebody older may remember Alta Vista, and I happened to type in. I didn't really understand it still, and they're like, oh, you just type stuff in and it like finds stuff for you, and it was kind of a big mystery, much like the Wizard of Oz, who's behind the curtain kind of thing. But typed in Maryland and Delaware, Maryland waterfowl hunting, Delaware waterfowl hunting, because I wanted to see what was around. I was doing public land hunting all the time, and all of a sudden, this web page popped up, Donald's Daily Deeds. Donald Hughes from Hurlock, Maryland. Donald's Daily Deeds. And I mean, I'm really gonna struggle to really stay on topic and on task here, not go off on a tangent. But at the very least, Donald was. Again, I didn't know the internet, so maybe obviously there had to be other people doing this. But in the early to mid 90s, Donald was doing a daily blog where you could sign up, put your email address in, and you'd basically get his hunting report every day. And his hunting reports that he emailed to you daily, actually, he had on his webpage, which you could just scroll down through. So starting September 1st, when he was hunting early resident Canada geese, till back then, there was no conservation season, and snow geese was open till March 10th or March 15th. I'm going to say March 10th. March 10th, snow geese was open. So unless it was raining, Donald did not like rain. Unless it was raining, Donald hunted every day, 6 days a week in Maryland or Delaware. And on his webpage, he had it set up little map, and he showed you basically where his fields were, where his hunting was. So when he referred to Hard Scrabble, or he referred to Home of the Brave, or referred to Secretary Cabin Creek, what else would have been there? Taylor's Island. You saw the map, and you kind of learned real quick. Like when he said he was one of these places, you kind of geographically you knew where he was. So he was a visionary. If I mispronounced that the first time, visionary. At least to me, he was. And Donald taught me the internet. I met him online, basically because I found his webpage and I emailed him. I cannot remember what I emailed him, but I emailed him something and he replied. And I think that before I knew about Bombay Hook, that's where Donald hunted, when he was physically able to hunt there. And current day, when I met him, he was not physically able. So basically, he loves snow goose hunting. He shot an old single 10 shotgun, break action, single barrel, 10 gauge, and he was deadly with it. He reloaded his own shells, and he loved shooting snow geese. He loved shooting geese, period, but definitely snow geese. And he was not able to get in Bombay Hook. So when I told him, hey, I go in Bombay Hook, blah blah blah. I have a boat, have a blind. At this time, from the things with me, things often escalate quickly. I'm like, full throttle or I'm not doing it kind of thing. So all of a sudden, from a canoe, now I'm in, the boat wasn't huge, but for current day, but for then it was an 18-foot John boat, had a pop-up Avery blind. I think I said this on episode 27, that it was the number 3, Tom Matthews told me, number 3 pop-up blind that Avery sold. And I remember I had to get this special Go Devil bracket in the back so that the blind, everything fit nicely with the Go Devil, not the outboard. And so as soon as Donald knew that he could get into Bombay Hook with me, basically he just said, hey, man, if you take me into Bombay Hook, you have access to any of my hunting. And I met him in July, and we rode around. He showed me all his hunting spots, everything that he had. And I said, yeah, man, I'll be happy to take you to Bombay Hook. I love going to that place. And so that was basically how the relationship formed. And again, I'm telling you, if I did not meet Donald Hughes in 1995, you wouldn't be listening to me right now. I know in my heart of hearts that would be true. I know you can never say always and never, but I truly do believe that. So, 1 second. So yeah, he taught me the internet. I want to try to make sure I keep my thoughts together here. But basically, he explained to me that the internet, at a later date, he explained to me that the internet is what I needed to know and needed to learn. I'm not a good, obviously I can't speak, right, because I'm tongue-tied, and I've always been like that. But I seem to be halfway decent at taking a picture. So way back in the day with film, you didn't just on our phones, obviously, it's there and you post it up, right? So, but way back in the day with film, 2 day was fast. 1 day was like crazy fast to get it developed. So you get your pictures developed. So now you got this picture. What are you going to do with it? He was very kind to explain to me that now we need to scan this picture. So we scan it. So now it's a digital file that's on the computer. What do we do with it? Well, now we need to load it to a server. Well, how do I do that? Oh, you use a thing called FTP. Like what? Yeah, FTP. It flips it from your, I can't remember what FTP stands for, but it flips it from your computer to a server. Well, what's a server? Well, a server is where it's parked on the internet. So it's going to have the, whatever the address is. Your picture name is going to be on the end of it, but you're going to have your address. So once we get it on the server, http://www. I believe Netscape at the time is where I parked all my pictures. Netscape.com and a bunch of numbers, and maybe my name was in it, and / and what I called the picture, what I named it .com. No, .jp, no, .com, .com, yes. And so, well, how do I post that on the internet, Donald? Well, use a thing called HTML code. What's that? So he explained to me HTML code, and I didn't really understand it. All I knew is that this is what I needed to type to get my parked uploaded picture onto a forum. Again, back in the day, there wasn't this little photo icon that you hit it and your picture from your iPhone automatically uploaded to whatever forum you're on, Instagram, Facebook, forums, whatever. It didn't do that. So you needed to know HTML code. So I learned that. I wrote stuff down. I am halfway good at taking notes, especially on note cards. And again, he just really stressed to me that he said, this is the deal. To evolve and to grow, you're going to need to use the internet to promote yourself, which is a good thing. That's how you're going to grow. The negative side of this is when you do post this up, you're going to attract an audience and you're going to attract attention. And some of these people are going to want to do what you do. So you're going to be drawing attention to yourself. You're going to be drawing attention to what you do, specifically sea duck hunting. And you're going to have other people that are going to want to do that too. Whether they're doing it for fun or try to guide, they're going to want to jump on and do it too. So he did warn me about that. But he said, in his opinion overall, the plus side was what's much more beneficial than the negative side. So I was all about that. Now in my notes here, I kind of what did Donald like to do? He sea duck hunting. He loved to hunt. Sea duck hunts, sea ducks, diver ducks, puddle ducks, geese, snow geese. Pretty much everything there was to hunt. We even shot some crows together. So Donald was all about the sport of what we do, which I truly appreciated. Patricia, his wife, actually told me Donald had 3 daughters, and she did tell me, in amongst all this, especially after he passed away, that he kind of looked at me as like the son that he never had. And in my life, early marriage, I just had turned 23, got married, and was married for 7 years. There was a family business, and it was very, very drawn out. I think it took me 2 years to actually get divorced, but it was kind of like I was getting divorced from my father-in-law financially from a business standpoint versus my daughter's mother, my ex-wife. And it just happened to be a good timing where I had a lot of time to do what I wanted to do. I loved hanging out with Donald. I loved learning from him. He was a man that like basically lived off the land lived off the land. What was he? Let me flip my paper over. I have who was Donald? Donald, he was in the U.S. Coast Guard for many, many years. Through the late 60s, I guess he was. And he told me a story one time where I think it was the master sergeant came into him and his buddy. And the Vietnam War / conflict was going on. And he says, one of you guys need to go. And they drew straws. I don't know if you want to say who won or who lost, but basically Donald stayed here and his buddy went, and he said a week later his buddy was dead. So Donald told me he always kind of had a little conscience about his stint in the U.S. Coast Guard as far as Vietnam went. But, he's able to travel. They were stationed in Kodiak Island, Alaska for quite a while, and he learned very quickly having 3 daughters that's not a place that he wanted to raise 3 daughters. So moved back to Maryland. Was a waterman, and then he was an insurance salesman, and then he found out that he could make more money and enjoyed being a waterman much more. On Taylor's Island, he started Taylor's Island Seafood, and did very well with soft shell crabs. He says I can remember him telling me he was paying a dime for a soft shell crab from crabbers, and like they weren't, people weren't paying him anything for them. So when he was paying a dime, he's like every crabber that had peelers, not soft shells, had the peeler that will become the soft shell, was bringing him crabs, soft peelers, and he would shed them. It's a 24-hour process. His whole family was involved with it, and then he would load his truck up, head to Lewes, Delaware, take the ferry across to Cape May, New Jersey, and then drive on up to Atlantic City, New Jersey. We take his week's worth of soft shells and sell them. He was a big-time snapping turtle trapper. Trapped them live, and a couple times I did go with him. I remember grabbing a small water turtle for Molly, my daughter, and taking it to her. But same kind of thing. Donald had a little Ford Ranger, and he would load that thing up with 500 pounds of snapping turtle, and take them up and sell them live to Atlantic City. So, and he also was a taxidermist. And in my relationship with him, I met a lot of people, but probably the name and the person that stands out the most would be Mr. Bill DeGeorge from just outside Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I should know his town. It's not popping into my mind right this minute. But right outside of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. There's a little story about the first time I met Bill there, which, let me flip my paper back over, that I may jump into it right now. But yes, Donald Hughes, man, I can't, I would be lying to you if I tell you that I think about him daily, but there's many things right in this room, kind of our larger dining room, living room, it's one big room. I have a couple, Brian Vavra, as that's a joke, like Brett Favre, how you say it? Brian Vavra from Orlando, Florida. He's more than a talented painter. I can see two of them right now. Did basically both of these paintings, Coot is in them, and Donald is in one of them. So, yeah, I mean, I think of Donald many, many times a week. If I said daily, probably would be lying a little bit. I'd be stretching the truth a little bit. Oh my goodness, Brian Vavra's calling. What? Hold on a second. This is crazy. Hey man, what's going on?
What's up, brother?
I'm doing a podcast, and I just said your name, and there's two of your paintings are here, and I lightning strike me the second, man. I just said your name.
That's weird.
That is. All right, let me hit the stop button. How crazy is that? I mentioned the man's name and the phone. Well, you didn't hear it ring, but his name popped up on my phone. So, some new T-shirts, sweatshirts are in the works. So let me rewind. I think I was going to talk about my first meeting with Bill DeGeorge. So, July, maybe even to August. Meet Donald. We hang out some. He shows me everything. I think we did some crabbing together, and he's telling me about, hey, we're gonna hunt September 1st. I got a good spot for Canada geese, so come on down. I got a friend, Bill DeGeorge, is coming down from, I'll remember the name. It starts with an F. Fairview, Pennsylvania. Anyway, it's right outside. I should get my phone. I'm not going to touch my phone, but it's right outside Gettysburg. So, I think it's September 1st they went. I can't remember why I couldn't get there, but I couldn't get there. So I'm there September 2nd. We meet in the dark, meet Bill, and Donald said, hey, you guys go on out and get set up. Donald already had the decoys out, a little kind of a water spread, a pond that had some sandbars in it. Donald, again, I mentioned that Donald was a taxidermist. He loved to make what he called them mounts, M-O-U-N-T-S. Basically, Canada geese that he did taxidermy decoys, if you will. Some people call them stuffers. Donald like to call them mounts. So I'm going to call them mounts. It's all set up. And he says, when you get out there, he says, there may be some geese there, so just be prepared. I'm like, okay. Bill and I go walk out. And Bill was there the day before, so I have no idea where we're going. It was a short walk, maybe 150 yards kind of thing. Get in the blind, and I remember being kind of like sat in the middle, and eventually Donald made his way out. And Bill and I are sitting there, we're ready to go. And Donald sits down, and he says, why didn't somebody shoot that goose there? I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, there was a goose out there sleeping. It was kind of like paddling around. And they're like, Jeff, shoot it, Jeff. And I'm like, yeah, it's just sitting there. I kind of, if you watch any of my Sea Duck videos, you see birds getting shot on the water all the time. I was very hesitant about shooting it on the water. You can say what you want, but that's the truth. I'm in the middle. And by the time truly that, like, they had convinced me, shoot the thing, Jeff, Well, now it's lined up with 2 decoys, and I felt like I was going to shoot one of his mounted birds. So Bill shot it on the end. Guess what? It's got a band on it. It's like, oh, man. I missed a band. Years and years and years later, sadly, when Bill, I think Donald and I, at least in the area, Donald and I took him on his last hunt. He had went to Tennessee, as I recall, Reelfoot, and basically, once he got home from Reelfoot, he was not with us anymore. His wife, through help of friends, put a big list together of all his gear and equipment, and I used to love the old SP10, Remington SP10 shotgun. I wanted to get his shotgun. I bought a bunch of plastic decoys, and I told her, I said, there was the first time I ever met Bill. I said, if you ever come across this band, I would love to have that band. So it would mean a lot to me. And so it took her a little while, but she eventually found that band, and actually had the certificate with it also. So I do have that band today. But that's my September 1996, September 2nd, 1996, Bill to George story, the first time that I met Bill. So, and the first time actually, gunning with Donald. So my notes, I'm trying to, again, be very organized. We're trying not to make this a commercial, so Karen won't say anything to me about it. I would say in 1998, I'm going to say is the year. Maybe 97, but definitely 98. The old club at Bombay Hook, Kevin Fox, would rent pits. Bill to George, now we've hunted together quite a bit now. Enjoyed each other's company. Got along very well. Oh, I got to rewind. So the very first time hunting with Bill and Donald, it was slow. And much like, September Canada geese can be, Bill went out back, and I start hearing like some metal noise and stuff. I'm like, what is going on here? Bill breaks out a stove and starts cooking. So I'm going to give Bill to George credit for any of my cooking in the boat, any of my cooking that I've done over the years, which I could tell some stories about, guiding snow geese in a field, like laying out a field that I would take a stove along with me. I credit Bill with that. So, Gam, what's going on over there?
I'm doing dishes.
Okay. If you can hear some noise in the background, she's doing dishes. That you please have at it. Just want to let everybody know if there's some noise in the background, that's what's going on. No, please, I don't want to slow you down. I know you have many important things to do still today. She kind of got a funny smirk on her face, I think. What are you cooking for dinner?
Chipped beef gravy.
You're not going to have subs from Molly's?
But they aren't soggy.
No, they're not soggy. Oh, my goodness. All right, so that's the noise in the background. So I do credit Bill to George with truly the first time probably that ever had breakfast cooked while waterfowl hunting. So, Bill, thank you very much, because to this day, I try to carry that tradition on. So, yeah. It would have been in 1997, 98 from Kevin Fox. Bill to George said he wanted to go snow goose hunting. He's never been snow goose hunting before. And I know I'm starting to talk about Bill, but this is going to rewind, or not rewind, but it's going to kind of go sideways back with Donald, because Donald's involved here. So, Bill says, don't worry about it. I'll rent the pit. I'll pay for the pit. I had all the decoys. I think I had a good 800 or so carry light decoys. So he has to kind of come past me to get to Delaware anyway. So I remember him showing up in the backyard. We loaded the decoys up, and we head off to just outside Bombay Hook. I can't remember 100% if Greg Jacob was with us or not. He could have been, and I believe that Donald brought Eddie. So it was definitely 4 of us, if not 5. We were in a dirt field. The field had just been plowed over. The pit was nice, but the field was just plowed over. And we set up the decoys. It was a windy morning, and generally and typically when they fly out of the refuge, they go inland. So if you had a 4-bird, 5-bird, 8-bird shoot all morning long for the pit, that was a great morning. We shot 35 decoying snow geese at this pit in the morning. Had lunch, jumped back in the pit in the afternoon, and I think we finished out at 42 snow geese. And Bill thought, this is awesome, which it was an awesome hunt. And again, you got to remember, this is in like 97, 98, so the limit would have been, it was 5 or 8. So we didn't shoot a limit. It must have been 8 birds. It would have been 5, 8, 40. My mind is sketchy, foggy on that one. But I do know we shot 42 birds. And Bill was like, this is great, man. He's like, let's do this again tomorrow. I'll rent the pit. And like Donald and I are like, man, this was like the worst first snow goose for you ever, because it's never like this. Again, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 birds would have been a great morning. So we had a stellar morning with a stellar day with what we shot. And we did go back the next day, and shot 5. And Bill was like, what's wrong? Why isn't it like yesterday? Because yesterday was a freak, man. I can remember it being warm, but it was just windy. The wind was right, and it was on. But what came out of those 2 days, Donald Hughes plants the seed in my mind that he's like, man, you should guide. He said, you got it down, man. Like, I feel like I'm on a guided hunt with you, Jeff. Like, you need to start guiding. I was like, I don't know. And that little bit of indecision, and not that it's a big step, but I guess it could be considered to be a big step. But that was Donald Hughes. I credit him with guiding. So that happened. Probably would have been late October, 97 or 98. So awesome memories with Donald Hughes. And again, if I did not meet the man in 1995, I would not be sitting here talking to you. You would not know who I am, and I would not be guiding snow geese. I would not be Pitboss Waterfowl. He also showed me how to make my first web page as things progressed. So, Donald Hughes, thank you, sir. I think of you often and often and often. So this is a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. I thought talk to Karen about this. I wanted to I do have some video. I have a lot of pictures. I don't have much video of them, but I thought maybe I wanted to do more of like a YouTube type remembrance, if you will, I guess, of him. And I just haven't done that. And this is, I've wanted to do this for a long time. So I've talked to people, little parts and pieces on different other podcasts, and even Chicky at Molly's, he knows who Donald Hughes is, because I say the man's name often and often. So sadly, Donald passed away November 17th of 2004. That was the year I'd gotten the first Banks 21. He did get to see that boat. We were shooting sea ducks kind of in the same area. I was guiding at the time, and he was still doing it for fun. So he did get to see the boat that year. And it was a 107-day season, so I would have probably started like October 14th, 15th. So almost a good 4 weeks worth. And Donald and his wife Patricia were headed to Trails End, just outside Chincoteague, Virginia, and in Pocomoke City. Sadly, stopped for a sandwich, and Pat brought the sandwiches back, and he fell over in the chair, and that was it. So Donald Hughes, man, I miss you. I think about you often, and salute. Yes. So, and Builder George, same with you, man. I do the other painting that Brian did for me. You're on that one. So definitely Donald Hughes, Builder George. Both of those men taught me a lot. So Donald always said he was full of useless knowledge, and I like to think that I always appreciated, enjoyed, and tried to learn from his useless knowledge. So, hope that was entertaining. I hope Karen will tell me that was not an ad, a commercial. So, yeah, that was podcast number 28. I appreciate you listening and following along. Thank you very much. More to come, more to follow.
It's got gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. Watch out now. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time and I can't